What's going on, guys? Cruzin Podcast. Viraj is back
in video form.
In video, everything is working this time. Yeah. There was no.
Nice.
No. That's how confident I am.
Facts.
It's working.
Trademark TM.
Confident. Yeah. So, as you can tell, he's got the hoodie on. I got the background on. We're gonna start with Godfather because this is long overdue. We gotta talk Godfather. So
Are we going to the third?
No, we don't have to go through each one.
Oh, okay.
But our general conversation about the movies.
Okay.
And then I don't know if you got to see Death of Coda, which was like the
I did. I actually watched it today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want our thoughts on, of course, the classic 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. I know you have strong feelings about 3.
Yeah.
I kind of do too, so that's why I'm excited. This is long overdue.
Yeah,
so
100%.
I want to talk about it, and then
I mean, you've seen 3 before, right? This isn't your first time. This is just kind of like the rebranding of 3, and they kind of put it out. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is what we did. What me and Josh did is I hadn't seen them in years, and Josh hadn't seen them at all.
Yeah.
Right. So
wow.
So we saw.
Oh, wow.
We took every day, right? For it was like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday we went to see Coda. So we saw Thursday, Godfather 1, amazing. Then we saw Saturday, Godfather 2,
right,
epic. And then we saw Thursday, Friday, then Saturday we saw Godfather 3, like original format because I have the Blu-ray at home.
Okay.
So we saw all 3 originally how they were, like the third one.
Original.
And then Sunday, fresh, we went to go see Coda.
Right.
And then that's where we stand.
Okay. What was the difference? Because I haven't seen the original 3 in a long time. So what was the difference that was immediately recognizable, I think?
Oh, well, the intro, there's a scene like 40 minutes in the movie. That's the beginning of the movie. And they kind of recut and took out certain scenes. Oh, they kind of like cleaned it up a little bit, I guess, but I still have the same issues with it.
Okay.
That's kind of like where I stand with it. But and they changed the ending. The ending is different.
I think you're right.
You saw the Coda, right?
You're right.
Yeah, because the original, he falls to the ground. Yeah. Here, they actually recut it to where it's him only imagining him dancing with the daughter. Yeah. They removed the scene with the mom.
Yeah.
Which I didn't like. I actually liked the original.
Yeah.
And then it's him putting on the glasses and then envisioning that, and then it ends. Yeah. Instead of him actually dying on screen. Yeah. Because I guess people didn't like that. They thought it was so
interesting.
Yeah.
Completely different movie.
Yeah, it's like little things like that.
Take away from that movie.
And then they ended it with a quote about how. With that word in Italian about how
Sicilians never forget.
Sicilians never forget.
What was it? Cente anni means like long life.
Okay.
Sicilians, when they say that, it means long life.
That's cool. Yeah. That's so cool to be like, like.
I'd love to be an Italian.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I like watching Godfather. I was just like, man,
Okay, real quick, before we move into 3.
Yes.
1 and 2, which one did you guys like better? First, actually, you go ahead. You tell me which one you like better. Because you saw him for the first time.
Yeah.
I gotta see 1. Yeah.
More than 2?
I like 1 more because I love the ending shot. The ending shot to me was so epic. I love
close the door.
I love the shot of him just like with the hand out and they're kissing his hand.
That Corleone.
You know what it could be? It's like knowing, like that ending, it's knowing what's coming, right? Yeah. Not that he knew what was coming, but it's like knowing that there's a second movie. It's like, okay, where
does this go from here?
What's to come? Yeah. You see the transition of the character where that Michael that we remember from the beginning of the movie, right? Where you're like,
completely different.
This is him just being like, don't ask me about my business, Kate. Al Pacino's acting in 1 and 2.
Amazing.
Which is why 3 frustrates me so much. I don't know if you noticed this too. Is
he wasn't the character? He was just Al Pacino.
Yeah, he was Al Pacino.
And you know what I noticed?
He had his own regular voice. He didn't have the original.
He kind of had that Al Pacino niche that everybody would make fun of, like that. That's not the Michael that we saw. But the thing is, like. Godfather
bring me
2?
Back in.
Yeah, like
that was a great line. That's his most epic line from the movie.
Yeah. Like Godfather 2 and like that was 74.
Yeah.
Godfather 3 was like 90.
I think it was 93,
94,
like
maybe 95.
Yeah, it's a long time.
From Godfather 2 to there, he was Scarface.
The director didn't even want to do it.
How old?
He didn't want to do 3.
For Godfather 3, because
He was older, but not like
he was
too
like
old.
in his 30s for 1 and 2,
30s, okay.
and then he was probably like in his 50s.
Yeah.
And they
But
could
you
obviously
could tell-
age you with like the hair.
Yeah.
They dyed his hair white.
And what they did with his hair, that buzz cut.
Yeah, kind of like a bald spot here and then like a buzz.
I felt like the scarf, Tony Montana and him kind of stayed
out.
But they did say, like,
I
with
agree
Al
with that.
Pacino, like, after a certain point in his career when he really took off,
Yeah.
his acting, he just stayed as that,
Same.
like
as
kept
that
it.
Al Pacino.
Yeah. Kept it.
Yeah, and because you see him in Godfather 3, I was like, this doesn't feel like Michael. It just
Yeah,
feels like Al
Godfather
Pacino.
3 can like connect really well with Irishman. And like how Al Pacino talks and acts in that movie, also it's kind
It's
of
just
like
Al Pacino.
same. Yeah,
It
it's
feels
just
like Al Pacino.
Exactly.
And then it's a shame because it's not what you expect at all. And you're right.
Yeah.
Francis Ford Coppola didn't even want to
he
do
didn't want to
third
do 3. This is
But
money.
it was money.
Money.
He was having issues. His movies weren't doing
yeah.
well. And I
And
think
this
it's
was
something
like
his winery.
it was a guaranteed hit, obviously, because you have 1 and 2 that do absolutely amazing.
It's like one of those disappointments, right?
Yeah.
Like, imagine waiting, 20 years?
Yeah.
You hear about Godfather 3, you're like, oh.
Wow.
And then it's like, oh.
First of all, there's a lot of things going on with 3 that we'll get into, I'm sure. But what was your 1 and 2 favorite out of 1 and 2?
Oh, my God, it's tough.
And then I'll give my response.
It's tough. I feel like 2 is such an epic.
Yeah.
It's like longer.
Yeah.
There's so much going on.
Yep.
The whole
It's like 2 movies almost.
Yes, there's something so epic about it. You know,
Yeah.
it's like watching Lord of the Rings, but like this mob family drama.
Yeah.
There's something so epic about that. Yeah. You know, I'm because I love the ending of 1.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I love the opening of 1 too.
Oh.
The introduction, right? Just that steady.
Marlon
slow,
Brando's a
Yes.
goat.
But then 2, we get like 2. You're right, 2 movies in 1. We get like a prequel,
Yeah.
and a sequel at the same time.
yeah.
And
How do you exactly? How do you?
and it's that conversation that we
And
had
you're telling
about
both stories simultaneously.
and it was so perfectly like it flowed perfectly,
yeah.
like great editing. And so we were talking about with the Irishman, right? About like the de-aging stuff. Like
yeah.
there's something beautiful about getting an actor like
And just doing it.
Because then look at Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Marlon Brando was perfect, right?
Yeah.
But like now we got a Robert De Niro playing. You know,
A younger version of him.
I'm stuck between.
I actually like that. I prefer that over a
Yeah, me
de-aging
too.
thing, because if you make Robert De Niro look 30, but then he can't kick like he's 30,
Yeah.
like from that
Oh my
fight
God,
scene
yeah,
right
yeah,
outside,
yeah.
which we talked about on that last podcast we were on.
Very rough. Yeah.
Very bad.
Yeah.
Because you could see it like just look very like weird.
Looks like an old man kicking. Yeah.
So what would you?
I would have to say, damn man, it's tough. I would maybe say 2, just
Okay.
because I really love. It's hard. If it's 2, it's like I can say 1 tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at, because
Yeah.
I love the opening. I love the ending shot.
Right.
But then I also love the just the tense drama in 2 of like who did it, right? Who's the one, and then the
For it to be his own brother.
Fredo, right? And then just the acting, like Al Pacino in 2. He was great in 1, but
Amazing. I think he really got to take the
being
starlight
established
in the second one.
Yeah,
But
I
okay.
will go with 2. I will go with 2. I think that's my.
I'm gonna go with 1, just because like for me 1, and I love 2 also, which is why like we've discussed 3 disappoints us so much.
It was rough.
1 was just like from beginning to end. It's like you're watching a 3-hour movie and you don't even want to pick up your phone.
Yeah,
It's one of those. Like I've shown it to like my cousins, and they sat and they watched the whole thing, like just grasped by what was going
it's like
on.
it's a 3-hour
in 1.
epic.
And it's
that
legendary.
I just love the part of him, like he's like baptizing his son.
Yeah.
And like
That
the
montage,
music,
the
and then
montage.
it's like them killing all.
It's like him. No, he's actually. It's not him baptizing his son. He's actually becoming a godfather
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
of his sister's son.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Do you
it's
renounce Satan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a. They align it with him becoming the actual godfather as well, with him taking care of all of the other mob bosses.
It's
in
interesting.
that moment.
And just that ending
Insane,
shot
bro. That movie's
of him like with the hand out, and it's like then closing the door slowly.
that whole.
And the thing was, and like she was looking, and she kind of knew like.
She like he
He
lied.
was like worried.
Like he literally lied. Like, cause she asked him like, did you do it based on the killing of Connie's husband?
Yeah.
And which you find out because and that's so crazy. He was the reason for Sonny's death. Sonny died in a brutal way.
Yeah.
It was because he knew that when he would beat his sister would call him because he'd already threatened his life, so he knew he would be angry. He'd be going through this route to get to him, to try and hurt him, and he knew exactly where he would be and at what point, so he sided with the bad guys. He had his brother-in-law killed. And so, like, for him to figure that out at the ending, and that being, like, the last bit that you get to see is him taking care of him, and then him saying no to his sister that he didn't do it, and then to his wife, he's like, I'll let you ask this one last time, like one time, you know, about my business. And then she asks, did you do it? And then he basically just says no.
It's something that we like lack now, right? Like there's not many movies that capture you with such acting like that, right? You know what I mean? Just because if you look at The Godfather, when it's a simple, no music, no nothing, it's her asking him, did you do it?
Yeah.
He's like, you can ask me one time. But there's just something with you're just in it.
Glued.
And movies don't do that now.
No, even like, and now they're making a movie of how Francis Ford made The Godfather.
Yes.
That movie's coming out. The making of The Godfather.
Oscar Isaac is playing Francis Ford Coppola.
I think Jake Gyllenhaal is playing like a young Pacino.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah. So, like that's, I believe it's going to happen in 2022. We should be able to see it. But regardless, like a lot of things went into that movie almost never happening. Mm-hmm. Like Marlon Brando being a drama queen, like people, like studio was against him being the lead for Vito.
They didn't want Al Pacino.
Al Pacino, Sonny was actually playing the part for Al Pacino. And all of these things kind of fit the way that they did. The lighting isn't great in the movie, but it adds to the movie.
Yeah.
Like if you actually like lighting does what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like it's not like a well-lit room. It's not like an Irishman where, you know, the lighting is in the right areas, still keeping the dark like presence. But this is like actual lighting that they're using to make it like really dark. And, you know, there's moments where you can't even see the characters. Like that police scene when, you know, the police confronts Michael about being in front of the hospital. Yeah. You can almost not recognize the characters because it's so dark.
I thought that was intentional.
It's adding to the
because when the cops showed up, it's like kind of dark, but it 100%. Gives them that like...
Gives them a little bit of light just to like...
Yeah.
A little bit to see the face and stuff like that, bro.
This like villainous look.
Yes.
Where it's like, oh shit, this is not good.
But that's what I mean to say is like it was not a low budget film, but it was a film that was done not with the highest stuff in mind. Expectations
a troubled shoot.
Exactly.
His other movie, Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Was the same way. Troubled production, a classic. Yeah. You know, and it's true, you're right. Like I think you're gonna say like one of the
No, to me it's my all time.
Show him the hoodie. Show him the hoodie. He's got the hoodie on right there. Look at
Dude, it's a lot cooler on the back, but you know, show that to the end.
It really is. It's crazy how a movie like this with like basically like no action. It's not an action movie, and it's so epic.
It is.
Like it's weird.
And it's crazy because you have all these YouTubers that go on YouTube and they say like 10 business lessons from like The Godfather, and you can literally get like life lessons and family lessons and
keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
Don't let anybody outside of the family know what you're thinking. Like that moment when Sonny says it out loud, like which is what ends up happening for the reason why Vito gets clapped in the beginning was because Sonny opens his mouth. It's crazy. All of a sudden the enemy sees that his son's interested. He's next up. Let's take care of the boss. So that he can be next up, he can do a business with us.
Yeah, it's
all of a sudden.
It really is like in
all of these interpretations that I've gotten have been through like watching it many different times.
Yeah,
because like on first watch, like you're probably hearing a lot of this and you're like, damn, I didn't really notice that because I didn't notice it either. Yeah, you know, so a lot of those things started tying a lot later when you watch it again and again.
But that's how like it's every film class that I've taken. They're like The Godfather is like the perfect example of like a perfect movie. Because
and they did it in
really
the 70s.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like a movie. It feels like you're just watching a real family.
Yes.
Like your shit.
Yeah.
It's just so like perfectly shot. You know what I mean? And just like that opening scene in 1 when the camera's just slowly panning back, and then it's like going just the shoulder.
The sound also, and like the way the book's title comes across the screen, and like
there's something about it. Like being in the 70s, I think that makes it better.
It makes it. I think Martin Scorsese had deemed that time as like the golden golden era of film.
Yeah,
I think he's right.
I think so too.
Because right now what we're getting is not movies like that.
Blockbuster superhero.
Crazy.
Right now, what makes me sad is like seeing 3 and finding out it was like in the 90s and everything. I was like, damn, like
you could tell the difference immediately.
The way it looks was different. The acting,
way it was shot, the acting,
and My biggest problem,
storyline.
The story was weird. I like the whole Vatican thing. I think like the story of like him trying to become legitimate in the Vatican. I thought that was
to all three of them. Like it alludes to like him just growing as a person through the movies. But all of the extra stuff.
I didn't like it. The whole Cuzzo thing.
That was so weird.
That was weird.
Why was that a main line of the whole movie? It
was weird. And they wanted to do a 4.
Yeah.
Apparently with him.
With Andy Garcia.
But, yeah. A good thing that didn't happen. But I didn't like.
I mean, he wasn't a terrible actor. It's just that whole
the storyline was weird
with them two.
The cousin Cuzzo.
Hey, cuz.
Yeah, that was weird. That was
first cousin. I was like, is that an Italian thing? I don't know. No, it's not.
I looked it up. No, it's not.
So, like, because I didn't understand why it was such a prominent thing in the movie.
Yeah, it didn't.
And why people weren't more, like, uproared around it. Like, even when Al Pacino found out, he's like, yo, you just got to stop, like, because he's dangerous.
Yeah, it's like, and there's no conversation.
It's not that he's a first cousin.
Yeah, literally.
That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that.
And the fact that I started kissing cuz, I'm like,
yeah,
that was weird. And so it was like that, right? Al Pacino's acting. I was like, this is just Al Pacino.
Yeah, this is just...
The character wasn't the same.
They brought a lot of older people from like the older movies and like that Don Altabello. He's the guy that was singing. If you don't remember the first one, I think also in the second one.
Yeah.
But they brought all these people back. But like even then, like the villain Joey Zaza, the whole like the best scene to me was like that whole helicopter scene where they're shooting through the.
Right.
I like the helicopter scene and the opera.
Oh yeah, the opera, the whole ending,
like
the whole montage,
like the montage towards the end, yeah.
Yeah, like I think that's it. I mean, I think the only part where he actually acted was when he was having that stroke. I think that's it.
But it was weird. It was all.
It just didn't make sense with the rest of the.
I would have liked that he went more about the Fredo. He literally killed his own brother.
Yeah.
Like he had to kill his own brother.
Yeah. He did confess that part where he had the confession with the thing. I didn't like it either.
I didn't like him crying.
Yeah. Because it shows,
but maybe he really
trying
weak.
To show, yeah.
But like, not in a good way either. It was like in a weird way. Like, I don't know. I didn't like it, and it's a shame.
It's like it went like a complete 180 to like what he was in 2.
Yeah.
It went to like a complete regretting kind of ideology of like.
And he's all like jokes, like he's all like jokey and like funny, and it's like, but where's the Michael that we saw at the end of 2 where he was older and he was just like sitting there, like that's what I wanted to see, not like Al Pacino being like, yeah. You know what I mean?
It was like making jokes and laughing.
I feel like what happened is it was so many years without playing that character, and they're like, "Hey, you want to do another
back
one?"
Into it, yeah.
You want to do another one? He's like, "Yeah, sure." And then he went through Scarface and all these movies.
He'd done Scarface already at this point.
80s. Scarface was 80s. So imagine like he went through that already. So like, and he comes back and it's like that's what I saw. I was like, this is just Al Pacino.
Yeah.
And dude, 2. It's so good, you know. From the ending, I like just him older. It happens, or the scene where when he they shoot at his home, and he goes to talk to the guy. He's like, "In my home, you know, where my wife sleeps, where my children play."
Beautiful.
You know what's the other one?
His walk too. I love his walk.
He had a presence in the first 2 that the third one.
It's like that. God,
you can tell that moment where he becomes Godfather in the first one, which is like you kind of like, okay, you're moving away from Vito and you're moving to Michael. And like when I initially heard of the Godfather, this was the person that I imagined every single time. I thought he was a main character. He'd be there the whole time. I didn't know he passes away halfway through the movie. Yeah. And the movie's really about Al Pacino.
Which is awesome, yeah.
Which is awesome. But you get to see the transition happen, and I think it's awesome. Like when the initial hit happens, and then he starts planning, and then he tells them like how he's gonna place the gun there, and if they can place the gun there when I'm there, and come out
in the restaurant,
amazing.
Like it's just tense.
It felt like an actual like mob, like you're sitting in like where a mob discussion is happening. Yeah, like they're deciding on how to get revenge on. They just took out one of the most powerful mob.
And you know like why there's no subtitles in that scene in the restaurant? Apparently, he was talking too quick in Sicilian. Yeah, and like they said that to put subtitles, it would have been weird. So they just decided not to put.
That's actually
and it turned actually out worked
because it gives you the effect that Michael's kind of thinking about what he's about to do and he's nervous because he's about to shoot.
It's like what you were saying, how it's like
you don't care what he's saying.
Yeah,
it's like what you were saying about like how the low budget stuff. Actually work in its favor.
Yeah.
Like with the lighting, that's like, oh well, it wasn't really that they wanted to. It's just like the lighting wasn't there. Yeah. But here, it's like it was a mistake that the audio just wasn't working. Yeah. But it actually worked creatively because how I took it was that he just wasn't even paying attention. He didn't care what.
He was like, I'm about to shoot you.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more on that. Like, I'm kind of like, even though he's been in the army, he's kind of still nervous about the fact that he has to kill a police officer.
Exactly.
And
his mind was just on that.
Yeah.
Like, and I like that. That's how I felt. Like, I was like, okay, we're not caring about what he's saying. We're looking at his.
And there was actual use of like silence in that movie that is not used oftentimes in like to give an impression of things going on. Just actual silence.
And also, then he goes to he goes to hiding, gets married, and then like the wife dies.
Oh, which was supposed to be like his one true love was her.
Yeah.
And you realize that in the third movie when he talks about it too.
And that was such a good scene. I was like, he was telling, he's like you realize, he's like, wait, what? And then like he's telling him not to start the car, and then
boom.
Dies. I was like, shit,
So good.
I think he had like, and obviously this is like obviously me thinking about this is not going to change what was actually in the book or what was in the movie, but like she was like the one for him to have become like his true potential person, not Kay.
Yeah.
Kay was kind of person who didn't understand the business. She was, whereas like she was the true Sicilian wife that he needed to be like a true Sicilian.
That's interesting.
Like when I first saw the movie, I noticed like he likes her more.
Yeah.
He liked her more than Kate.
He fell in love with her.
Yeah, but then when she does, all right, I guess I'll go back to Miami.
Oh
yeah, that scene. Yeah, because when that happened, he goes back to Kay, and
he's like, I'm back now. And I think what had happened was he knew he was going to be the person in charge. He just needed somebody to take that next step with.
Yeah,
and for him, he didn't want to take that next step with just anybody.
No.
He's like, I have this history with her.
And one thing I hate about 3, it's like, how do you forgive Kate? Like, she killed the kid.
Yeah, the fact that with 2, it's him closing the door on her. Remember when she was looking, when he had the kids or something, and she was kind of looking like to see if he could like let her in, and he just closed the door on her, But then in 3,
he's kind of like asking for forgiveness and
it's
stuff.
like if they like had a bad divorce and it's like, hey, Kay, so
I need me back.
Yeah, and they're like they're kind of getting along again. I was like, what is this? This is not
like having an abortion without even knowing.
No, and not even like that, right? But just how the movie is, like the 1 and 2. It's like this is not what Godfather is. It's not a like a rom-com or like them trying to get back together.
That's why I think it was such lazily done.
And that scene when she tells him that, I love that scene.
It was so intense
because he was like when she what he did was if you look at his hands.
Yeah.
He kept squeezing harder the chair.
You immediately go to look at his reaction.
And then like he just threw the chair and just went for the slap. Like what I like to like the way he played that scene was like. It was in the eyes, but like you see his body.
The tension was building up
like you see his hands
because she says that, and you immediately go to what's his reaction going to be to this.
And his eyes when she's like told him the truth.
Something that's unholy and evil. I didn't want your son, Michael. I wouldn't bring another one of your sons into this world. It was an abortion, Michael. It was a son, and I had it killed because this must all end. I know now that it's over. I knew it then. There would be no way, Michael. No way you could ever forgive me. Not with this Sicilian thing that's been going on for 2,000 years. Oh!
I love the fact that he just throws the chair and just goes for like a smack.
Boom. Because like you look at like you want when you're doing these things on the outside, which is a very violent, stressful, uncertain place to be in, you want your home front to be certain.
Yeah.
And I think like his downfall, kind of not downfall because he lived out through the whole series, but like his thing that kind of held him back was like it was uncertain at home too.
Yeah.
So he could have been like an even bigger boss, but it held him back because his family issues went together.
I don't know, Matt.
When he kisses Fredo. Remember we saw that mob guy on YouTube.
Yeah, when he said, I knew it was you,
because
Fredo.
We saw on YouTube, it was just like he was his ex-mob boss or whatever. He was saying that.
Michael Francis.
Yeah, and he saw that scene, he said he cried. Because that's a real thing.
That he's been, like, something similar happened to him.
He said that his brother, like, betrayed him, and he said that was something similar. Like, he said that how that's a real thing, like, that's like, what's it, the kiss of death?
Yeah.
Kiss of death.
The characters are so good, you know? Like, Fredo, and you kind of understand. You know what scene I love? And I think it's what kind of pushes me a little over with 2 is the final scene with all the brothers at the dinner table.
Oh.
And 2?
Such an emotional scene.
No explanation of anything. Just here's a scene
random
of everybody's personality and how it counters one another. You always see how
at
Michael
the family.
and the family, the dynamic. Michael always being away in 2, yeah.
That was such a dope shot, man.
That to me is what I think seals it a little bit more than 1.
Wow.
A little bit.
That's a powerful scene.
It's like Sonny has the hothead.
Sonny's doing what he's doing.
Michael's just like, oh, but why? Like,
he was just never a part of that.
But it's kind of seeing like how he turned out alone.
Yeah.
It's because
still,
you know, like through the whole thing of them being all together, and even though like it had like a much deeper meaning for me. I took it as that as well, but it had like a much deeper, like, yo, like at this moment in time, everybody was together, and then you fast forward in the future and it's just him.
You see, that's interesting because for how I took it was he did end up alone, because they're all dead. But I feel like it was also kind of just kind of like as this setup of like, look at everybody's dynamic. Like this is how everyone interacts, but
he's more of a
look how he was
wolf.
always he was always detached. He was always the outcast.
Yeah.
And even then at the end, right? Like everyone always was out like against him. Like, oh, Michael, you know.
Yeah.
It was always, even when he tried to do what was right.
It's so beautiful. There's so many interpretations to that one scene.
Because
that's actually,
just the fact that he's
it's actually
sitting
amazing.
There, Sonny being a hothead, right? Like you already see, okay, this is why you died because
they were talking about something with the war, and then Michael didn't agree with, and then like they kind of like
because
he said he was gonna enlist in the army.
Yeah, go enlist.
He was gonna actually like he said I'd already enlisted.
Yeah,
and his fault, you know, they didn't want him to do that, even though he didn't want any parts of the business. Yeah, they had plans for him.
And then like how Fredo was like, oh, you know, Michael, like
yeah.
he was kind of like happy.
Yeah, because Fredo is like, he's dumb and easy manipulated, but it shows his good heart.
Yeah.
Like he's supportive. Like, oh, Michael, good.
Vito talks about in the first movie, if you remember, when he's like almost about to die, he's having that chat with Michael. And, you know, he's like, you can kind of see like him deteriorate where he's like, yo, I already did that, Pops. Like, you know, what's bothering you? He's like, yeah. And then, like, that scene where he's talking about, like, how Sonny, you know, it was always meant for Sonny, but he was always too aggressive. And then, you know, Fredo, well, he just kind of shrugs off Fredo, like, you know, well, Fredo.
It's Fredo.
You understand everything that you need to in that moment.
He never wanted Michael to be that.
Involved, yeah.
Like, he really wanted to be his own man. But
he was like, I would hope you would be the person to pull the strings.
Yeah.
And not, which is like the quote on the back of the hoodie. It says, you know, I refuse to be a person held by a string of, you know, by the people at the top or something like that. But he says, I refuse, like, I was hoping you would be the one to hold the strings.
Yeah.
And because he had aspirations for him to be a politician, a lawmaker probably.
He sees the potential, right?
Sees the potential of him
that's
being,
what I love about that scene in Godfather 2. Without any, like, if that was a movie today, they'll be like, well, it'll be Sonny being like, damn it, Michael, that's why. It'll be like this exposition. It's just like pure character, right?
Yeah.
It's Michael, it's Sonny being like, all these fucking damn Japs. They're all the same. And then Michael's like, what do you mean? Like, they're fighting for their country. He's like, oh, then if you care so much about, why don't you go fight? He's like, I did. I enlisted.
Yeah, enlisted.
It just shows Michael's a quiet guy. He'll, like, set his position. He's isolated, but he'll do it.
Yep.
Sonny's the hothead that doesn't think clearly. He generalizes too much. So he thinks, oh, they're all bad. That's it. I'm going. And that's what got him killed, right? He was too hot-headed. And, you know, they set him up. He's easy to set up. Fredo is just, he's dumb. He's just kind of there. But he's like, oh, damn, Mike, good job.
Yeah.
And then Tom, who's, he's just kind of like, oh, but he's more of like the
rational thinker.
The rational, like, oh, but Mike, we had plans for you, right? Because he's like
long-term
right next to King.
Plans. Right? He's the consigliere. He's the guy who's the right-hand man.
We had plans for you. And he'll be like, but he never, money issues.
Really?
He wanted more money.
Really?
Yeah. And they didn't. They offered him low, apparently, like low. Yeah.
I would have given it to him just to make the movie.
I didn't like how a lot of things.
He definitely had the negotiating position.
If he was in the movie, man, that would have changed a few things.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of issues that I think.
No, but that could have changed maybe like.
A few of the dynamics of the film.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he'd already kind of removed him in the first movie. He'd already removed him when he became boss, and then the second movie kind of even further removed him.
He doesn't have that in him.
He's like, you're a peacetime consigliere. I need a wartime consigliere.
Yeah, because now things are gonna get like a little war.
That was one thing that like didn't sit well with me through 1 and 2 either. Even though I love those movies, those are like, you know, 1 for me is number 1, and then 2 is in my top 5. But that part, like where he just kind of like outcasts his brother to kind of just deal with things on the outside and not be like the right hand man, even though he had been the right hand man for his father.
Yeah, but I mean, it sucks, but I kind of get it because he doesn't have that tough character.
He doesn't.
To pull the trigger.
Yeah, he's not the wartime person that he needs on his side.
That wartime guy because he knows that he has to go kill everyone.
Exactly.
Because he feel like Tom didn't have that.
Didn't have that. Because he never had to deal with it. Tom never had to deal with it.
Yeah.
So it makes sense why he didn't go with Tom, because he said it to Tom. He's like, "You're peacetime consigliere. It's wartime now. You know, we need somebody."
I love it, man. I love it. It's just
so many
things, and then you know, and it's a shame because like the Godfather is so good.
Yeah.
But like 3 is such a setback.
Yeah.
That I can't say it's the best trilogy of all time.
Yeah.
I can't.
If they cut for me, can't be number 1 because of 3 hurts it.
Yeah.
3 does hurt.
As a trilogy, I would never put it as a top trilogy.
3
just
is
because
3
of
hurts. 3 hurts.
Maybe 4. Maybe I'll put like Harry Potter and Star Wars over it. Mm-hmm. And Godfather maybe 4 or 5. No,
as individual movies, 1 and 2 are like way above the charts.
Yeah.
After Godfather, I was telling Josh I wanted to start watching like older movies again. I recently saw like Taxi Driver.
Yeah,
right?
I saw Taxi Driver too.
I want to watch like young Al Pacino's movies. You know what I mean? It was something I want to watch movies like that. You know, because it's not something that we're getting much of. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate you having me, man.
It's great talking Godfather.
Yeah, of course.
Any final things that you want to mention?
No, man.
Any plugs?
Follow me at VKU. No free plugs.
Cut him off.
Cut off.
Your Instagram?
No, my
or
Instagram
anything?
at VKUL, VCool, and
follow his Instagram, guys.
Follow my Instagram.
Anything else?
That's about it, man.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Follow their Instagrams. Follow their streams. They Twitch. They game a lot, so follow. I
appreciate that.
And sometimes I'm on. So
yes, we get him on. We got everybody
Once
on.
in a while.
And thank you guys for helping us reach affiliate, which is cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
really
cool.
cool.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. If you've been watching us on YouTube, if you're listening, thank you. And until the next one, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Goodbye.